3-in-1 Ultimate Color Tool. How do you use it? I'm going to show you. Let's take a look. So the first thing I want to show you is how to use the red and green films. Here's a quilt block, and you can see the contrast in this: dark, medium, light. And you would use this 3-in-1 tool to help you select fabric so that you have a nice blend of contrast if you want. And one way is to take the green and see if you can see distinctly all three. You can see the light, you can see the medium, and you can see the dark. The red also does it, but often if you use the red with something that has red or pink in it, sometimes it's not that easy to see the distinction in contrast. So that's why they have the green. You see how you can see the contrast better here with the green than you can with the red? But this is a really easy example. You can clearly see the contrast in this, right? What about this one? Can we see the contrast in that one easily? Let's take out the red. You're not going to be able to see it that good because this pink is very close to the red. So that's why you bring out the green. And the green is going to help you see the contrast between the three different fabrics. So depending upon the fabrics, what is light, medium, and dark will vary, right? So I put the red and you don't see the contrast as much because of the red being in this pink. But you can still see the contrast. These two are kind of close, right? What about something like this? You can see the contrast somewhat, right? You can see it between the white and the green. Does it make a difference when we have the red? Very little, but somewhat. You can still see that this is dark here, right? Easy to see. But what about when we start getting into fabrics like this, where the colors look pretty close? This is where this is going to help you see the contrast. So as you're shopping for fabric and trying to figure out what fabrics you want, you're going to use this tool to help you see the contrast between the fabrics. I love that. So you can take this to the store. It's just the right size. It can fit in your purse, right? Where it really comes in handy is a block like this. When you buy sometimes fabric bundles or collections and they have a lot that are in the mid-tone area and you want to blend those into a quilt, you want to use one collection for one quilt project. If all of these are inside that collection, how are you going to place each fabric based on color value? That's what these do. These help you see the color value, not the color, but the value of the color in terms of the grayscale, okay? It will help you see that. So normally I tell you, take a photograph, turn it to black and white so that you can see the color value. I'm going to do that with my camera. Take out the color, make it black and white. Do you see how the value, this is the darkest, but these are very close in value? Close in value. Even this one is close. If you're not in a position to change it to black and white, this is where you bring in the red and the green to see the value of the colors. What about when you have lights and darks and mediums and you want it to stand out? You want to have nice contrast and blending in certain areas. And you want to pick the right color brown, the right red, the right orange. You're not using the collection. You're going to go to your stash because you want to make a quilt block. Isn't this a cute block? It's so cute. This was given to me during a block exchange at a local guild. You want to consider what's going to give you that nice contrast. The red, you see how the red is not working because this is red? This is where you would take the green, and now you can see the contrast with the green. With the red, you can't see the contrast. With the green, you can. So that's why you need both. So if you have your graph paper and you want to make a block from that card builder set and you want to put specific colors, you're going to try and find out the color value of red that you want, the light that you want, the medium that you want for each area of the quilt block. And you're going to use not only these to help you once you have the fabrics, to audition the fabrics, but you're also going to use one of the colors inside this color tool. So if I'm looking for the color that's close to this red here, say this is kind of an orangey red, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe it's this one. You find the color that's close to the color that you want for the value that you want. And this is something that is awesome. When you have tint, tone, and shade. Tint, tone, and shade. And it tells you that these are tones, tones, tones. And I think this is the pure color red. And then we have tints, tones, and shades. The pure color, when you add white, you get a tint. When you have the pure color and you add black, you get the shade of that pure red. When you add gray, that's when you get the tones. So all of these tones are red with a little bit of gray added to get the different looks that you see here. And it's all inside this tool. And then for each one of these, they have the color corresponding RGB numbers, the hex numbers, everything you need. And then on the back, you're designing this quilt block and you want to have a certain type of look. And they say, okay, what kind of look do you want? Do you want it to be monochromatic? Do you want it to be complementary, analogous, split complementary, or triadic? So then they tell you exactly how to get that look. So if I wanted, split complementary, it tells me the numbers, what I need. So if I look at the red, there's 2 on either side. Let me hold this up. The one that's pulled out right there, that's the pure red color. On either side of that red are 2 more colors. Those are the 2 colors that I want to work with, in addition to the red. And so I would just go inside this, and I take, this is the red, and I want 1 here and 1 here. That's 2. And then the next 2, 1, 2. So those are the 2 on either side of the red. And then I would choose based on what I see here. I know it's a lot of information. You have to take your time with learning how to do it, but that is how you can choose fabric when you're going to design your own quilt blocks. What about something like this? Yeah, aren't they fun? Yes, hex numbers. It includes copper hex numbers and CMYK and RGB. Yep, you get all of that. What is RGB and what are hex numbers? Red, green, and blue, the combination of those to make the color. And hex is the number that often you will see when designers that use software for like illustrations, they use hex numbers. When we're printing fabric, when they're printing fabric, they use CMYK, cyan, yellow, and magenta, and K for black. That's how they print the fabric, with CMYK numbers. When you're working on a computer designing with software, it's hex numbers. Or a graphic artist, they're using hex numbers. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit. It just depends on what area you're using colors, which numbers you need, what numbering system for that color you need. So this is another example. This is a wonky kind of log cabin, and the value of this, you know, it's not a lot of contrast. This has some contrast here and here, but what about over here? These two are almost the same value, And same thing over here. These have all similar values. And let me change this to black and white, and you can see when I take out the color, how almost all of them except the center have the same value. We're taking out the color and we're just looking at the value. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Bring that saturation mic back in. All right. So this 3-in-1 tool has so many options. This is why this is on my must-have, because it will help you select fabric. It will help you design your quilts and quilt block. It will help you have the contrast that you want, whether it's a monochromatic color scheme or triadic or analogous. It takes time to learn each one and how they work, but it's worth it, right? So that your quilts can sing and say what you want them to say. And so you've picked up these fabrics because you love them and you're petting them. And you're like, oh, I love this blue. I love this red, this maroon, this yellow, orange, but I can't get them all. Which ones am I going to use for my project? Which of these two that are close in orange am I going to pick? And that's when you're going to get this, right? You're going to get this out. You're going to look at the contrast between the colors and say, is it enough contrast between this fabric and this fabric? Will they work well together in a quilt? Even though I like them, if I want it to be a medium or high contrast, is it going to work? You're not going to use the red one because you really can't see the contrast between the two. You're going to use this, right? And you see that the contrast is very low, but maybe that's what you want. That's how you make your decisions, right? You're going to get maybe a different tint of this, a different tone, right? So if you want it to be lighter, that means it's going to be a tint where that color, original color, you added white to it. If it's going to be darker, a shade of that color, they would have added black to it to make it darker, right? So this is how you would take this into the store and start to select your fabric.